When you're playing Halo 2 on Legendary, it's extremely important that you get a plasma pistol for easy noob combo kills. I cannot believe I just missed that. Halo 2's Legendary difficulty is, in one word, infamous. I've seen Reddit posts, YouTube videos, comments, blog posts, smoke signals, everything about how Halo 2 on Legendary is really, really hard. I even took a passing shot at it in my Bungie video when I was talking about Combat Evolved. Legendary feels challenging, but not unfair like some other entries in the franchise. There's plenty of factors that make Halo 2 on Legendary really hard, and I'm not going to single out anything in particular, but it's so hard that many Halo fans think it goes overboard, and I've even seen some call it broken. I replayed levels on Legendary here and there, and I've tried a bit of speedrunning, but I couldn't remember the last time I had sat down and played through the whole game on Legendary just casually. So I spent a couple days on and off beating the game on Legendary, and in this video, I'm going to look at Halo 2's campaign as a whole, including the story, levels, characters, etc., and we'll go through the entire game. I'm going to keep track of a couple numbers. First, the time it takes me to beat each individual level, and I'll also keep track of my total time throughout the game. All deaths per level as well as a running total, deaths specifically from sniper jackals as well as a running total, finally, deaths from boss fights on levels that have them as well as a running total. This is all one attempt at each level. I didn't restart or anything if I was unhappy. This was me playing through the game like a normal person would. With all that, consider this video a look at Halo 2's campaign as a whole, where we also answer the question, is Halo 2's Legendary difficulty broken?
He said it! He said it!
First thing before we get into the actual gameplay, I want to highlight the opening cutscene. It sets the tone immediately, and you know right away that this game is going to have a much deeper story than in Combat Evolved. Not even to mention just how much higher quality this cutscene is than anything in the first game. From the cinematography to the animations to the voice actors, Keith David is awesome as the Arbiter, Michael Wincott kills it as Prophet of Truth, and even Marty O'Donnell's dad has a memorable line.
Nay, it was heresy.
Getting into the actual gameplay, Cairo Station is a pretty easy level, relatively speaking. It's Legendary, so they're all hard. It's my personal favorite opening level in any Halo game. I love the ship environment, I love the space sections, and I think it functions really well as both a tutorial level and just a fun level to play through. That being said, one of the first issues with Halo 2 on Legendary pops up on this level. That being, your playstyle is heavily restricted. If you want to get through this level, you pretty much have to have a plasma pistol and a battle rifle. I will say, I beat this level on Legendary as a child at one point, and I didn't know what a noob combo was, so I'm not saying it's impossible to get through without using a plasma pistol. It'll just take you a lot longer. You could also be a crazy speedrunner who can sword fly all over the map, but that's definitely not me. At this point, after every level, I'll play a death montage tallying up my total deaths at any jackal, sniper, or boss battle deaths, show my time to complete the level, and then show my running totals across all levels for each. I beat Cairo Station in 19 minutes and 46 seconds and didn't die a single time, so no death montage for this level, and my totals thus far are pretty simple. Outskirts is up next, and it's one of two levels on Earth. I'll start off with this. I always run on the rooftop, so I haven't played the first half of this level in years. And I had absolutely forgotten just how bad the second major issue with Halo 2 Legendary is, and boy does it rear its ugly head in the first half of this level. Jackal snipers. Oh boy. I know I'm beating a dead horse, but getting insta-killed and not knowing where you got shot from and having to memorize sniper spawns is more aggravating than fun. And I don't know why, but they loaded this level up with them. There are so many you have to look out for. On the positive side, you can play with something other than the plasma pistol and battle rifle on this level. I use the sniper and the battle rifle the entire level, but once you get past the hotel and out of town, you may even say to the outskirts, the level opens up at the Warthog section, your first vehicle section of the game, and I think it gets much better. But I said the snipers annoyed me. I'll let you see for yourself how it went down with my first death montage.
They do not.
That's what you need. Push yourself to the test and show us the passage of time. I'm gonna need a montage. Sports training montage. Show that what's happening. Once remind everyone of what's going on. And with every shot, show a little improvement. To show you all would take too long. That's called a montage. Team Rocket had a montage.
I had a clean run the rest of the level, so that puts my total deaths on Outskirts at 13, with 10 of those being from sniper jackals. My final time was 21 minutes and 12 seconds, bringing my total time to 40:58. Next up, the tank level. The cutscene before Metropolis features the voices of David Cross and Michelle Rodriguez, which I think is pretty cool. Johnson's dialogue also changes depending on the difficulty. But your objective in this mission is to follow a scarab and destroy it. You start off in a tank, making your way through the bridge. you were speedrunning, you'd actually grab a partially hidden warthog and drive past everything, but again, I was playing this game the way you're intended to. Until I got further ahead to a point where you're supposed to get on the gun of a goshawk. I always drive because as far as I'm concerned, this section is not possible unless you're driving. A bit further on, you come across a couple jackal snipers and a couple wraiths. There's a hidden rocket launcher, so I always grab it, give it to a passenger, and then kill everything with a Gauss rocket hog. Then you attack the scarab, which in this game, unlike in Halo 3, is basically just a set piece that doesn't really do anything. But leading up to the scarab, I died a whole lot of times. I died 9 times total on Metropolis, 3 of which were from jackal snipers. There was also 1 team kill and 1 suicide, but we aren't tallying those. My final time is 31 minutes and 47 seconds. So far I have 22 total deaths, 13 from jackal snipers, and my total time is 1 hour, 12 minutes and 45 seconds. And now I hope you're excited to meet the Arbiter. Prior to the Arbiter starting, you watch one of the longest cutscenes in the game that hopefully not too many first-time players skip through, where they'd be in for one heck of a surprise afterward. But in this cutscene, the prophets make Thel Vadame an Arbiter, which basically means he runs whatever special ops the prophets want him to, with the expectation that one of these missions will kill him at some point. On the way to the mining facility where a group of heretics are hiding out, you meet the shipmaster played by Robert Davi, who again delivers a fantastic performance. The Arbiter as a playable character was controversial when this game came out because people wanted to play as the Master Chief. The Arbiter also gets stuck with some of the worst levels in this game, and we'll get to that, but I love the Arbiter as a character, and I think it's his half of the story that really elevates Halo 2, and is why Halo 2 has my favorite story of the entire franchise. As far as the actual gameplay on this level, I think it's a great change of pace from the first 3 levels. I didn't use a plasma pistol at all, and as you'll see in the upcoming death montage, I didn't really need to. You're introduced to the Covenant Carbine, there's no jackal snipers, you get to use active camo for the first time, and you get a sword. And this was presumably unintended by Bungie, but the heretics don't do any melee damage, so the sword is really good to use against them. That's all I got for this one, so on to the death montage.
We're gonna need a montage. Sports training montage. Show a lot of things happening at once. Remind everyone of what's going on. And every shot.
I only died 4 times. My final time for the Arbiter was 12 minutes and 56 seconds. This brings my total deaths to 26 and my time to 1 hour, 25 minutes and 41 seconds. This level went pretty well. Spoiler alert, the next one would not. When I was a kid, my Halo 2 playthroughs would always end here because I was absolutely terrified of the Flood. As an adult, I think this is one of the tougher levels to get through, primarily because the first half is not very interesting. So the Flood is introduced, you listen to the heretic leader played by Miguel Ferrer, who again does a 10 out of 10 job, and then after fighting infection forms you get to ride on an elevator. I didn't die a single time on this elevator, yet it still took up about 20% of my entire time playing through this level. Then after that holdout section, you get another holdout section that's also long and somewhat tedious. After that, this level really opens up and gets really good. There's backtracking, but I think it's actually neat to see where you came from now that the station is in free fall and there's Flood everywhere. I think, again, like the previous level, this does serve as a good change of pace from the beginning of the game. I also normally, when playing this level, use a trick on the elevator to the cables that gives you invincibility. I didn't use that this time, which meant that this was the first time I fought the heretic leader without invincibility in years. And I didn't have a plasma pistol. I'll let you see how it went in the death montage.
Remind
Maybe I just don't know the right strategy, but that boss fight was absolutely brutal. I finished the Oracle with 15 deaths, 10 of which were from the boss fight. My final time was 30 minutes and 17 seconds. This brings my total deaths to 41, my boss battle deaths to 10, and my total time to 1 hour, 55 minutes, and 58 seconds. Luckily for me, the next mission did not have a boss fight. Delta Halo was up next. This is one of the most beloved Halo levels across all the games, and deservedly so. It does the same thing as the level Halo in Combat Evolved. It introduces you to a beautiful ring world with ancient structures where you get to drive around and kill aliens. I really like the design of the Forerunner structures on Delta Halo, and I'm glad they didn't just reuse everything from the first game. As far as playing through this level on Legendary, this one isn't that bad, but I do think this is where the difficulty does start to pick up a bit. I had 10 deaths, 2 of them from Jackal Snipers, but I think that had more to do with this level being long than it being difficult. My final time was 37 minutes and 30 seconds. This brings my total deaths to 51, my Jackal Sniper deaths to 15, and my total time to 2 hours, 33 minutes, and 28 seconds. Oh boy. Regret. I both love and hate this level. It's a continuation of Delta Halo. It's beautiful. I like pretty much every section of this level, from the above ground fighting and the Forerunner structures, the gondola rides, to the underwater sections, except for one aspect. The Jackal Snipers. They are ridiculous on this level. I think between them and the Regret boss fight and just about everything else in the level, this is, in my unpopular opinion, the hardest level in the game. Most people say Gravemind. Gravemind is longer and definitely harder to speedrun, but I think there's more skill to it than Regret. Regret, for me at least, was full of cheap deaths and controller throwing inducing moments. I'll let you see it for yourself. When playing this, I thought that a Jackal Sniper got me, but on the replay you can see that my beam rifle shot actually bounced off of the Hunter's shield back at me. Back to the montage. I can't put into words how relieved I was when I finally killed Regret. This level filled up every category. I died 28 total times, 10 of those were from Jackal Snipers and 7 were during the boss battle. My final time ended up at 59 minutes and 24 seconds. This raises my total deaths to 79, my Jackal Sniper deaths to 25, my boss battle deaths to 17, and my total time to 3 hours, 32 minutes, and 52 seconds. After what you just watched, I'll let you decide whether Regret is the hardest Halo 2 mission or if I just suck. I'm going to move on to Sacred Icon. Sacred Icon is another run killer for me. Not because it's hard, but because it's definitely my least favorite level in the game, and I would go as far as to say that it's a bad level. It's essentially a slightly better version of the library. On the bright side, it's much shorter than the library. This is also the point of the game where the Flood gets much harder. In the Oracle, you can one-shot every combat form with a carbine. In this level, the human combat forms take a lot of shots to bring down until you get the shotgun, and the elite combat forms are given shields. It's a tricky level, and I have some deaths to show off.
That's when you need to push yourself to the test and
Compared to Regret, Sacred Icon was pretty clean. I finished with 7 deaths and my final time was 27 minutes exactly. This raises my total deaths to 86 and my total time to 3 hours, 59 minutes, and 52 seconds. For making it through my least favorite level of the game, I was then rewarded with a chance to play my second least favorite level of the game. As much as I love the Arbiter's story, they really did screw him with the levels he gets. When I was a kid, I always couldn't wait to get through Quarantine Zone so I could get back to playing as a Master Chief, partly because I was scared of the Flood and partly because this level and Sacred Icon really create a lull in the game between the awesomeness that is the first 7 levels and the last 4. I do like this mission better than Sacred Icon, although playing it on Legendary, this was probably more frustrating. Getting one-shotted by Rocket Flood when I'm in a Scorpion tank with full health was not enjoyable. It is really neat that they allowed the Flood to drive vehicles in this game, and story-wise, it hints that maybe the Flood on Delta Halo are more intelligent than the Flood in Combat Evolved, and maybe there's some kind of hive mind controlling them or something similar. The gondola section is not good, but we'll get there after the death montage.
I'm on my way.
I did end the level by going out of bounds in the elevator thing, but in my defense, that section is really easy anyway and it's just boring. I ended up with 17 deaths and my final time is 25 minutes and 22 seconds. This brings my total deaths over 100 to 103 and my total time to 4 hours, 25 minutes, and 14 seconds. Now onto my favorite level in the entire franchise. I love Gravemind. Besides Cairo Station, it's probably my most replayed level in Halo 2's campaign, which, just to be clear on my own bias, I have played Gravemind a lot more than Regret, which may be why I think Regret is harder. The opening to this level is infamous because you can die pretty much right as the screen turns from white. I would say this opening room is probably the toughest part of the level outside of the prison and mausoleum, primarily because you don't have a carbine to begin with and are stuck with a needler and a plasma rifle. This level introduces the brutes for the first time in gameplay. I've been using this phrase a lot, but I think the brutes are a good change of pace. I'm more of a fan of the brutes in this game than I am in Halo 3. In Halo 3, they pretty much just feel like elites, except their armor doesn't regenerate. In this game, brutes are different and feel like their own thing. And the sections of this game where you're fighting both brute factions and elite factions are awesome, and this level has so much variety in combat because every Covenant enemy in the game is being thrown at you. This is a personal thing, but I also just really like the aesthetic of playing on a Covenant ship. Truth and Reconciliation is my favorite Halo 1 level too. I think the feeling of sneaking around High Charity while a civil war is going on is pretty cool. When I say I think Regret is harder than this level, don't think I'm saying Gravemind isn't hard. I have a whole lot of deaths to show you.
Brutes! The faster you can kill those brutes, the better.
Today's approach, giving your best. You've got to reach your prime. That's when you need to put yourself to the test and show us the passage of time. We're gonna need a montage. Sports training montage. Show that things happening at once. Remind everyone of what's going on. With every shot, show a little improvement to show it won't take too long. That's called a montage. Team Rocky had a montage. Any sport if you want to go from just a beginner to a pro, you need a montage. Simple little montage. Always way out in a montage. Everything's laid out, it seems like
This level pretty much single-handedly destroyed my Jackal Sniper death ratio. I died 28 total times and only one of them was from a Jackal Sniper. My final time was 57 minutes and 48 seconds. This brings my total deaths to 131 and my total time to 5 hours, 23 minutes, and 2 seconds. My Jackal Sniper deaths, of course, are only going up 1 to 26. Uprising is one of my other favorite levels in the game. The score at the beginning of it is gorgeous and probably my favorite piece in Halo 2. Like Gravemind, this level also starts off pretty tough because you don't have a headshot weapon, but as long as you're patient, you can get through just fine. You work your way through a structure, fighting alongside other elites and grunts against brutes, jackals, and drones. On the other side of the structure, you get a vehicle section with a ghost. This is another section that I had not played in years because you can pretty easily get on top of the map and skip everything. But I didn't do it this time, and the death montage shows off the results of that decision.
The day is approaching, give it your best. You've got to reach your prime. That's when you need to put yourself to the test and show us a passage of time. We're gonna need a montage, sports training montage, to show that things happening at once. Remind everyone of what's going on. And every
See, this is where playing through normally hurts because 9 of my 12 deaths were in a section that I normally skip entirely. Nonetheless, I finished with 12 deaths total, and 7 of those were Jackal snipers. My final time was 25 minutes and 23 seconds. This brings my total deaths to 143, my Jackal sniper deaths to 33, and my total time to 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 25 seconds. The next level I was not looking forward to playing. Prior to actually playing High Charity again, I would have told you it's a bad level. Now I think it's the best flood level in the game. It's pretty short and doesn't drag on like other infamous flood levels, and it absolutely nails the horror atmosphere that the flood should bring. Looking at the levels in order going back to Combat Evolved, it's the best example of this since 343 Guilty Spark. I felt genuine dread playing this level. Watching the Covenant homeworld getting completely overrun and delving further and further into it where there's no sign of life at all outside of the flood. It's what a flood level should be. It's a complete 180 from the epic sci-fi action of a Covenant level. I never want to play it again, but in this case, that's actually a good thing. And oh yeah, I died a few times.
This crisis. Now is the time of our own.
There was the one room where I died 6 times, but for the most part, High Charity wasn't that bad. I died 13 times, 3 from Jackal snipers, and my final time was 13 minutes and 24 seconds. This brings my total deaths to 156, my Jackal sniper deaths to 36, and my total time to 6 hours, 1 minute, and 49 seconds. And oh boy, we've made it to the last level. It's actually unfortunate that this ended up being the last level. The original plan was to have the ending be on Earth, where basically the same events that happened in Halo 3 would have happened in Halo 2 instead, minus Cortana being rescued and the Flood being destroyed. The Arbiter and Master Chief were supposed to team up and kill the Prophet of Truth inside the Ark. Instead, the game ended on one of the most notorious cliffhangers ever, and as the Arbiter and not Master Chief, which also further led to more Arbiter hate. Story aside, as far as actual gameplay goes, I think it's a solid ending and feels grand enough, although of the 3 original games, it's definitely the most anticlimactic. The last of the 3 boss fights happens in this level, and it's definitely my favorite of the 3. There's also a great cutscene preceding it.
What happened to the Forerunners?
After exhausting every other strategic option, my creators activated the rings. They and all additional sentient life in free radii of the Galactic Center died as planned. Would you like to see the relevant data?
Tartarus. The prophets have betrayed us.
Keith David is a national treasure. I said a lot about regret and Gravemind being hard. This level for me was right up there with him in terms of deaths. Although, as you'll see, the majority of those happened during one very frustrating sequence. The Banshee section on this level nearly broke me, but nonetheless, I died 29 times, once from a Jackal Sniper and 3 times during the boss fight. My final time on the Great Journey was 46 minutes and 55 seconds. This brings my total deaths to 185, my Jackal Sniper deaths to 37, my boss fight deaths to 20, and my final time is 6 hours, 48 minutes, and 44 seconds. Couple takeaways from the final numbers. My nearly 7-hour time means I probably won't get invited to GDQ anytime soon unless they want someone to pull another Cody Miller. Jackal Snipers accounted for 20% of my total deaths despite only appearing in 8 of the 13 levels. Boss fights accounted for 11% of my total deaths despite only appearing in 3 of the 13 levels. Together, this means that 31% of my total deaths were either Jackal Snipers or during boss fights. Finally, 46% of my total deaths occurred across 3 missions: Regret, Gravemind, and the Great Journey. So what does it all mean? Going into this, I thought that Halo 2's difficulty was a bit overrated because of Jackal Snipers and boss battles, and without them it really wouldn't be that bad. Those are definitely the most lopsided things adding difficulty, but no, Halo 2's Legendary is really hard, straight up. Do I think it's broken, or unfair, or just too hard? No. There are specific aspects that maybe are unfair, like sniper jackals or any melee attack killing you instantly, but for me it just feels challenging, not unfair. Unless you're in a Banshee trying to fight 2 Banshees at once, then I feel like throwing my controller. But outside of that, every time I died, it always felt like I did something wrong and I just needed to play better. If I was to label a game unfair, that would mean that even doing the right thing leads to death and you're relying on luck. Halo 2 to me still feels like skill. As far as the campaign in general, it's definitely my favorite in the franchise. I think story-wise, it's hands down the strongest, the cinematics are the best in the series, the voice acting is phenomenal, and outside of the lull of Sacred Icon and Quarantine Zone, the levels are all a blast. So even though I've taken passing shots at Halo 2 in some of my past videos, I love Halo 2. That's it for this video. If you're new to this channel, I have a couple other videos about Halo and Bungie you should watch. I'll catch you later.